Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Inferno. I'm Ryan Blank alongside Noelle Blumel, who's making her anchoring debut. Noelle, how are you feeling?
Thanks, Ryan. I am super excited to be making my debut today and even more excited to get into today's show because we have a lot happening in the ASU sports world, but our wonderful reporters got it covered. So Ryan, let's have you get us started off with the obvious headliner, which is ASU football's recent trip to the Midwest.
Last week, Arizona State entered a hostile road environment in Stillwater to take on the then 11th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Despite a strong start that gave the Sun Devils an early lead, Oklahoma State found its rhythm and was able to come away with a 34-17 victory. On offense, Xavier Validation started the night with a 42-yard run to set up a field goal from Carter Brown. However, the rest of the night was bleak on the ground as ASU was held to only 131 total rushing yards on the night, the lowest output on the ground in a regular season game since Washington last year on November 20th. As for the passing games, there was a lot of improvement. Emory Jones racked up 223 yards, while Elijah Badger had a career day with 6 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. The struggles came on third down as ASU went 2 for 13 in third down situations with an average of 9 yards to go on such downs. On defense, Arizona State kept the high-tempo offense of Oklahoma State out of the end zone until midway through the second quarter. However, once the offense found its rhythm, it took over. The Cowboys scored on 6 of their final 9 drives in the game. Star quarterback Spencer Sanders totaled 322 yards and 3 total touchdowns. However, Kyle Soley showed out. The fifth-year linebacker totaled a career-high 16 tackles against the Cowboys and recorded an interception for the second straight week. For his play, he was named to the Pro Football Focus Defensive Team of the Week. However, the defense also had its struggles. Multiple personal foul penalties extended drives for the Cowboys. Going into this week, the Sun Devils will look to improve on third down offense and discipline on the defensive side of the ball. That's all I got. Let's throw it back to you, Noelle.
Thanks for that recap, Ryan. Now let's dive deeper into the analysis of what unfolded this past weekend in Stillwater. Joining us in the studio is reporter Paul Schultz.
Thanks, Noelle. And Paul, welcome to the show. Talking some ASU football. And despite a tough, lopsided loss on paper, what stood out to you from ASU's game against the Cowboys last Saturday?
Ryan, one thing I will give ASU credit for is they started out strong against a team we knew was going to be a tough challenge. The Sun Devils forced 4 punts from OSU at the beginning of the game while managing to put a field goal on the board in the first quarter. Now, after that first quarter is when it went downhill. But I will give ASU credit. They started the game prepared.
Now, I want to talk about the offense. A key thing was getting that passing game more involved, and that's what they did. Emory Jones eclipsed the 200-yard mark, throwing for 223, but also big games from Elijah Badger and Gio Sanders. Looking at what they did passing-wise against Oklahoma State, what do you think that does for the offense the rest of the season?
One thing we do know with Herm Edwards is throughout his entire tenure as the ASU head coach, he prioritizes establishing the run. And ASU is clearly proven to have a solid run game in the first 2 weeks. You have to establish the run to win games, but you need a well-rounded offense and a passing attack to win these big games. The offense needs the receivers to step up and shine in some big moments because they could get into some high-scoring shootouts as the season goes on.
And the real struggle came on third down. 2 for 13 on third down, having an average of 9 yards to go in those situations. What can the Sun Devils do to improve their third down efficiency on the offensive side of the ball?
I can't tell you how to convert every third down, but I'll tell you one way to make it a lot easier. The offense needs to set up these third and short situations. You just can't be falling to third and long every single drive and rely on somebody to make a big play all the time. So running these plays with purpose on first and second downs will be key.
Now, Paul, let's flip the script a little bit and go to the defensive side of the ball. The ASU defense was able to keep a very strong offense, very high tempo and high powered offense off the board until late in the first half. And then you pair that with a very strong outing against NAU. What does the defense have to do to keep up the strong start that they have had in these first 2 games of the season?
Well, Ryan, we know this team is thin at linebacker and a couple of other positions, so it's really a big endurance test here, right? You can't be subbing guys in and out on every single play. And at the same time, you can't afford a lot of injuries. The defense battled on 84 plays against Oklahoma State. So getting stops early and often, as simple as it sounds, is key for this defense.
Paul, thank you for joining us on the show. We look to get more from you next week. Now, let's toss over to Nick Hodel, who gives us the in-depth analysis on this week's opponent for ASU, the Eastern Michigan Eagles.
Eastern Michigan has not had the greatest start to its season with a close win against Eastern Kentucky and a loss last weekend at Louisiana. The Eagles had a 21-14 lead midway through the third quarter last week, but proceeded to give up the last 35 points, including getting shut out 28-0 in the fourth quarter. Defense has not been this team's strong suit so far, the Eagles giving up at least 450 yards of offense in both of their games. Senior quarterback Taylor Powell came to the Eagles from Troy in a graduate transfer and has shown flashes of both good and bad through the first 2 weeks. His efficiency dropped last week against Louisiana with a 63% completion rate to go along with 3 interceptions and a single touchdown. EMU's rushing efficiency also took a dramatic drop from close to 4 yards per carry against Eastern Kentucky to just 1.78 yards per carry last week. The Eagles do not have much history with the Pac-12 Conference, with just a single meeting against Arizona back in 1988, which ended in a 55-0 shutout. However, Eastern Michigan under head coach Chris Creighton is familiar with picking up victories against bigger schools, with 3 wins against Power 5 opponents since 2017.
Thank you, Nick, for that preview of Eastern Michigan. We're now going to take a look into running back Xavier Validation, who has proven to be a huge asset for the Devils so far this season. Douglas Santo has the highlights of his performance.
Coming into this past weekend's matchup against the Oklahoma State Cowboys, ASU Football star running back Xavier Validation was approaching a milestone. He needed 13 yards to reach 4,000 career all-purpose yards. Validation wasted no time accomplishing this milestone as he ran for 42 yards on the Sun Devils' first offensive play. This was only the beginning for Validation, as he ran for 118 yards, eclipsing the century mark as he's done in both games this season. Even with the big production from Validation, the Sun Devils fell 34-17 to the Cowboys. Validation will look to get the Sun Devils back on track this week against Eastern Michigan as he sets his sights on his next milestone, 4,000 career rush yards. Going into the weekend, Validation is the active FBS leading rusher, amassing 3,515 rushing yards throughout his career so far. While it is unlikely he will rush for 485 yards this weekend, he will look to continue his streak of 100-yard games and get a little closer to accomplishing the 4,000 rushing yards milestone. Validation also has 5 20-plus yard runs this season and 74 10-plus yard runs since 2019, which are both tied for the most in FBS. Validation will look to rush for his 3rd straight 100-yard game to start the season, becoming the first ASU running back to do so since DJ Foster in 2014, as ASU takes on Eastern Michigan Saturday night.
As Arizona State men's golf entered its 2022 fall season in the Maui Jim Invitational, a key piece from last year's national runner-up squad, David Puge, has left the Sun Devils to join Live Golf. Inferno Intel's Stephen Buxton is in studio to discuss Puge's move to the newly founded Golf Association.
On Monday, former ASU golfer David Puge made headlines as he announced that he will forego his senior season to turn professional and join the Live Golf Tour. The 20-year-old from Spain made the announcement on Instagram after sitting out the first tournament of the Sun Devils season. Coming into the year, Puge was ranked 9th in the World Amateur Golf Rankings and was expected to be a major contributor to the 5th-ranked Sun Devils. Puge's decision to join the Live Tour should not come as a surprise, though. The 2-time All-American has already competed in 2 tournaments for the Saudi Arabian-backed tour. Puge tied for 41st in the first event in London and tied for 42nd in Bedminster. He explained that his reasoning was because the amateur exemptions that Live gave him. Puge said, quote, "Live has been very supportive and they gave me 2 exemptions as an amateur, which I really appreciated a lot. They gave me a chance to play against the best players in the world, so obviously it was a tough decision to leave ASU, but the decision to join Live was very easy," end quote. Puge's debut will be at Live's tournament in Chicago at Rich Harvest Farms.
Thank you, Stephen, and a huge congratulations to David Puge as he begins this next chapter in his golf career. Speaking of ASU golf, the team recently participated in the Maui Jim Invitational, in which they managed to make some program history. Kyle Krikorian has the recap.
This past weekend at the Maui Jim Intercollegiate Tournament, ASU men's golf team recorded its lowest 3-round tournament score in program history. The last time they achieved this feat was back in 2019 during this same tournament. Some notable performances this tournament include Gabe Salvanera and Riggs Johnston. Salvanera tying himself with the 4th lowest score in ASU golf history, and a birdie by Johnston helped bring the lead to ASU for the first time during the tournament. The Sun Devils will be traveling to Olympia Fields in Illinois to compete in the Fighting Illini Invitational. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Kyle. We'll continue to watch the men's golf team throughout their fall season. After a multi-week hiatus due to COVID-19 cases, the Sun Devils soccer team hit the pitch for a match against Grambling State. Despite the hiatus, Nicole Douglas added to her legacy, while others are starting to hit their stride. Aaron Gonzalez has more.
What's going on, Sun Devil Nation? It's been almost 2 weeks since ASU women's soccer last played a match, but that didn't seem to be an issue for the team. ASU is coming off a shutout win over Grambling State 5-0 on Wednesday night. In fact, it's the first shutout win of the season. Fifth-year senior Nicole Douglas, the program's all-time leading goal scorer, added her 4th career hat trick. Also adding onto her resume, she is now the program's career leader in points, 126, and game-winning goals at 17. Douglas found the back of the net not once, not twice, but 3 times. In the last 4 games, she has scored all 8 of her goals. In a span of 25 games, Douglas now has 27 goals under her name that date back since the start of the 2021 season. And let's not forget about her teammate, Alexia Delgado. Delgado scored in back-to-back games for the first time in her career, all thanks to her teammates Eva Van Dersen and Inacio Colon. Sophomore Lauren Kerberg secured her first career assist. As pop star Rihanna once said, shine bright like a diamond, and boy did the dynamic duo of Olivia Nguyen and Eva Van Dersen shine bright. Both players now have assists in back-to-back games. Dersen achieved assist number 23. She now sits in 2nd place in career assists in Sun Devil soccer history. And get this, folks, she is just 3 from matching the top assist spot. The Sun Devils look to keep their unbeaten streak going as they are set to face off against Toledo in their final non-conference matchup of the season on Sunday. They quickly followed it up with the start of Pac-12 conference play on Friday, September 23rd in Boulder against Colorado. I'm Aaron Gonzalez, and that's all I have for you today. Have a great day, and let's send it over back to Noelle and Ryan at the desk.
Wow, should be exciting to see this already impactful soccer team begin conference play next weekend. Thank you, Aaron, and now let's head back to football, but this time in the NFL. Blake Neiman has the highlights of some former Sun Devils who have continued their athletic talent to the professional level, including Rashad White, who made his NFL debut this past weekend.
The NFL season is officially underway, and several former Sun Devils were in action on Sunday, starting with running back Eno Benjamin, who stayed in the heart of the Valley, heading east of Tempe to Glendale, where he suited up for the Arizona Cardinals. Benjamin played a variety of roles in his debut, both in the backfield and on special teams. He ended up accounting for 61 total yards in the Cardinals' 44-21 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Another fellow member of the ASU backfield was Rashad White, who saw some action Sunday with his new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with 6 carries for 14 yards. White, who made a good impression upon the organization this offseason, hopes to become a larger contributor as the season progresses. Speaking of impressing during the offseason, former ASU wideout Brandon Ayuk was a standout during the 49ers training camp. However, in the San Francisco 49ers monsoon matchup against the Chicago Bears, Ayuk was largely underutilized, only being targeted twice by new starting quarterback Trey Lance, both of which were catches that totaled out for 40 yards on the day. Following the Niners' Week 1 loss to the Bears, Lance promised to get Ayuk more involved in the games going forward, saying, quote, "He's a huge weapon for us. He's done a great job, and that'll start to show more and more, I promise. We will make sure to continue to keep an eye on all of the pro Sun Devils this season."
This past weekend, the Sun Devil volleyball team was in Waco, Texas for the Baylor Invitational. Inferno Intel volleyball reporter Carly Koskovich is with us to break down how ASU fared.
Happy Friday, Sun Devil fans. Last week, the ASU volleyball team traveled to Waco, Texas to compete in the Baylor Invitational. The Devils started off strong with a 13-point rally that secured the win against Evansville. However, they fell short in their second game against Colorado State, then ending the tournament with a loss against the host team, the Baylor Bears. A nice surprise was sophomore libero Jaden Ravensburg, who made her big-time debut with a team record of 12 digs, securing her spot on the all-tournament team. This week, the Sun Devils are back in Texas and ready to compete against Southern Methodist and Texas Tech. Make sure to tune into Pac-12 Network and support the Devils.
Thank you for that weekend recap, Carly, and hopefully the Devils can redeem themselves this weekend, once again in the Lone Star State. To close us out, we have Ari Wool with the preview of ASU's hockey team, whose season is now just a few weeks away from the start in their state-of-the-art home facility.
ASU women's hockey is starting its season this weekend with a pair of scrimmages on Friday and Saturday at Oceanside Arena. Last season, the Sun Devils went 15-9, finished 9th in their division, and hosted the playoffs. After losing to Grand Canyon University and beating Utah, they lost in the conference championship game to Colorado 1-0. The Sun Devils finished second for the second consecutive year, and head coach Lindsay Ellis, last year's Coach of the Year, is looking to finally win it all in her 7th season. This year's team will look a little different, though, after losing Samantha Murphy, last year's leading scorer, who transferred to Norwich University during the summer. Also, Kat Jones, the leading scorer in team history, graduated. In total, 14 members of this year's team are returners. Among those are this year's co-captains and seniors Andy Main and Jill Ketchum. Ketchum will be a key player to watch this season after the departure of some of last year's top scorers. Ketchum tallied 17 goals and 13 assists in 23 games for ASU last year. The Sun Devils will officially start their season against the Utah Utes on Friday, September 30th at Oceanside Arena.
Well, that concludes today's show, and I must say it's been a great first one to anchor alongside my fellow reporters. Thank you to our viewers and reporters for all of the work they put in, and please continue to be on the lookout for all Sun Devil sports-related news.
And to see all of our news and content, you can check out our website at infernointel.com and on Twitter at InfernoIntel. For Noel Blumel and the entire crew for today's show, I'm Ryan Blank. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.